Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. This is BASES 2018, and the second presentation of the day is Mr. Mark Steele. This is about the extremely serious issues of we're being betrayed by the telecommunications companies. So I'm going to allow the Stepping Stones to Awareness presenter and future Prime Minister and Empress of the Empire, Dame Caroline Stevens.
Well, I couldn't make any worse an attempt than Theresa May, could I? So it's all to play for. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Caroline Stevens. I'm the presenter for Stepping Stones to Awareness. Mark Steele and I have met on several occasions. We've been discussing 5G at length. We've talked about smart meters. We've talked about phased arrays. I left my science lessons behind at the age of 16, but I've had them resurrected having met Mark. I think, was it the last time I met you? Was it in Robin Hood's Bay on a very, very cold October Saturday morning? Mark, over to you. Take it away.
It wasn't that cold for us, Caroline, because we'd actually had a trouble.
Everything is relative, Mark.
South. Exactly.
I'm from Yorkshire, so I know what it's how cold it can get up there.
Yes, we did. Unfortunately, I'm going around telling people about the dangers of 5G. I don't know how many people have watched or listened to any of the 5G narrative or the information that I've put out in relation to it. But things have moved on at pace. Last few weeks have been really, really important. For those that haven't heard me speak before, you'll know that my local authority tried to gag me. They said I was a conspiracy theorist. There was no merit in the science that I was putting out into the public domain.
Didn't you go to court though, Mark?
You what's that, Caroline?
Didn't you go to court?
I went to, well, they tried to gag me. They said I was frightening people by telling them that they're all going to die. Obviously a bit of an extreme statement, but it is a fact. 5G is an existential threat. It will kill everything. It's not fully operational yet. It will be. I know people will find that that's quite a hard thing to stomach. Unfortunately, the science, the technical background that I have supports the fact that 5G is in fact a weapon system. Has absolutely nothing to do with telecommunications to a human. So it may send a telecommunications signal to a ATV or an AUV, but what it most certainly won't do is send a signal to a human.
Right, Mark, can I stop you there for the benefit of some of our audience? What do you mean by a weapons system?
It's actually a full Chinese target acquiring piece of equipment we now know. Well, in fact, I think in the Times only a fortnight ago, MI6 are concerned about 5G. I've got no doubt the reason why they're concerned, because what this system actually is, masquerading as a control management system on an LED street light outside your home.
But you're talking about phased arrays, you're talking about electromagnetic forces. What does this actually mean to Joe Bloggs in the street?
Very, very little. The technology is very, very difficult to grasp, and it's deliberately.
But we need to make it easy.
Yeah, we've got to make it easier, and that's what I've been trying to do, trying to make it easy. But it is so complicated and so space age. A lot of people just do not and cannot and have difficulty grasping it, and that's one of the reasons why I talk about now about LED street lighting.
But the veterans, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, Mark. The veterans, people in the military, don't seem to have grasped on the whole, despite the fact that they have been in the battlefield. They don't seem to grasp the fact that smart meters is bad, 5G is bad. So if the military can't get to grips with this, what chance do we have of rolling this out, the true information out to the general public?
Well, most of the military don't have anything to do with these type of weapon systems, Caroline, so they wouldn't actually understand that most military just use normal ordnance.
They do as they're told, don't they?
If you speak
That's why Miles and I could never get in the military.
Yeah, yeah, you speak to radar operators, you speak to people that know about these particular types of weapon systems, and they can assure you they are, in fact, weapon systems used on the battle space. So, and one of the reasons why the necessity for autonomous tanks, autonomous weaponry now, we'll see a lot of it. In fact, I think there was something on the BBC last week where they're testing something up on Porton Down, some automated machine gunning systems. The reason for that, the toxicity from these phased array weapon systems on the battlefield are so acute that the military, a biological man, cannot survive on the battle space. And one of the reasons why significant numbers of troops coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, suffer neurological disorders. They've actually got brain injuries from these particular types of weaponry. Now, that weaponry is now currently on full rollout across the UK. It is illegal and unlawful. The technology's passed no regulatory standards. Miles mentioned the IEEE before. The IEEE are even started questioning the technology. There's a number of scientists within that organisation who started to question the rollout of this technology. In fact, there's a lot of people started questioning. There's only the FCC who basically think it's a good idea and we should carry on without checking or actually testing any or having any safety regulations or standards in and around the equipment. And the reason for that, it'll fail. And the reason it'll fail, its primary function is a target acquiring weapon. It's not for communications for humans. That is absolute poppycock. The BBC will tell you it's got something to do with a high-speed connection to your mobile device. Well, I can tell you something. You get in between that high-speed connection and your mobile device, and that's why there isn't any, by the way. There still isn't any 5G mobile devices about. That are being threatened to be brought to market. But I can tell you now, the first people that fully use a 5G connection to a tower, it's a collimated signal, so it's a signal like a laser. It'll punch a hole through the side of your head. In fact, brain injury would be the least of your concerns.
Have you come across Extinction Rebellion?
Well, to me, anybody that talks about climate change, if I increase the ubiquitous number of transmitters, and that's what we've seen over the last, since the 80s, we've seen a significant increase in mobile masts. You're going to get climate change because those masts emit microwave radiation that actually causes a temperature increase, a significant temperature increase. And if anybody who's been in the military bases, airports, there's areas where you have these type of systems, that's where you normally take temperature. So if you take temperature at any of those points where you've increased the power density from the radiation from your emission devices, you're going to see a temperature range all right. In fact, I'm surprised that we haven't seen a 5 or 6 degree temperature increase when you look at the ubiquitous number. So what I'm going to suggest is the temperature is actually dropping. It's not going up. It's actually going the other way. You'd only have to take the telecoms, whether it be TV, digitized signals that, you see mass popping up all over the place for that. You see mass popping up all over. That will increase the temperature in any sort of measuring device, whether it be a mercury device or an electronic device. It will increase the readings.
Well, Mark, I interviewed John Kitson here last night in the studios, and John Kitson has just revealed that Extinction Rebellion is not only connected with man-made climate change, but connected with talking about 5G. They want 5G to be rolled out. So how does that stack up?
Well, it doesn't. Well, it's obviously that's how they'll get that climate change. They'll actually get the increase in temperature. If you rule 5G out, I mean, we're talking about in a small area the size of Gateshead, we've had 31,875 25 milliwatt transmitters. Now that doesn't sound a lot to a lot of people. I'm going to tell you that is absolutely significant. We're measuring radiation input in homes and bedrooms, and the temperature rise is absolutely significant. You can feel it on your skin.
So it doesn't make any sense then that the Extinction Rebellion, which is now taking over and becoming very prominent on Twitter, for example, and when I was in New York a few weeks ago, they managed to shut down a road. So they're obviously on a roll, a bit like the yellow vests, and it's taking attention away from the corrupt parliament. So we've got Extinction Rebellion, who we're not quite sure who's funding them at the moment, but they want 5G to be rolled out, but yet on the other hand, they're concerned about man-made climate change. That is bizarre, weird. What sort of agenda is that?
Sounds very much like common purpose to me,
Doesn't
Caroline.
it? Yeah.
You know, anybody that wants LED street light is an extinction event for small flying pollinators. So the 5G rollout, 5G includes LED street lighting. In fact, one is the justification for the other. The LED street lighting is very expensive. It uses quite a lot of energy. It's not what everybody stated. It reduces the carbon footprint. Absolute garbage. And not only that, it kills all the trees.
Presumably, though, it's cheaper doing it this way than laying underground cables.
Say that again, Caroline?
Is it cheaper to do it this way and have this net above our heads rather than, for our safety, lay underground cables instead?
It should all be hardwired. There should be no, I mean, apart from the emergency services, you know, the odd bit of communications, basic phones, mobile phone data should be basic. So it shouldn't be the complex packeted digitization that you need for, you know, imagery and things like that, because that's where you start to increase power density, you start to increase complexity in the pulse modulation and the digitization signals. They absolutely smash your cells and your biological structure to pieces. They're not forgiving at all, and it's not like analog. Most, you know, we can have a technology advanced world, but what we have to do is get it out of the air. This microwave radiation is absolutely lethal. We see it with the fertility collapse in males. We're seeing it with fertility problems in women. We're seeing mental health issues, all attributed, the significant increases, the self-harm in schools, it is all attributed to Wi-Fi. And when 5G comes on board, believe us, 5G is not Wi-Fi, it's not 4G, it's not 3G, it's a mix of all of them, plus what's called a high-gain dielectric lens. That dielectric lens is basically allows the antenna design to look to target acquire. So it's phased array. So that phased array, what I mean by that, is, you know, in layman's terms, is radar. So this is a sophisticated radar system that can look, you know, 20 or 30 miles in an urban environment. So it can actually look through buildings. We've got all the imagery for that. So it can look through buildings and it can see you and it can kill you. And I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that is its primary purpose.
And because of the barcodes that are going to be on products, they can basically, Big Brother can actually watch what you're eating, what you're doing in your house.
Well, your local authority and your government, I spoke with some people in MI6 last week. Obviously, I don't know if anybody's seen any of my latest posts about the terrorist. What 5G is the preparation for a terrorist attack that's going to come in 2021. They need to get it fully operational so then it can take everybody out at the same time so that there's no resistance. Now, I know that sounds absolutely bizarre and unbelievable, but I can actually prove everything that I'm saying. I know the characters who are behind this. I know the people who are orchestrating the whole thing now, and this is most certainly a terrorist attack. We've actually had, you know, to put that into perspective, people have found difficulty with what I'm saying. I've sent to every single councillor every single councillor in the Borough of Gateshead, they have all had the documentary scientific evidence from me stating that they are arbiters and betters in a humanitarian crime. At the recent court case, Recorder Nolan QC actually made a point of warning Gateshead Council to open up the democratic process, and he stated 5G must be debated. A chap recently in the Gateshead area who contacted the local mayor's office and local MP's office and local councillors asking them about the 5G has just had a full threatening letter from the chief executive, the strategic director at Gateshead Council, warning him if he sends them any more information or anything to do with 5G, they will take steps to have him sanctioned, arrested, etc. So this is absolutely unbelievable. So you've got a strategic director, solicitor at the council who is totally disregarding the judiciary. This is contempt of the British judicial system, and the reason why there's so much contempt, these criminals believe they are above the law.
But these criminals are the MPs themselves, because we have written to those alleged criminals and they're not interested in knowing anything about 5G. You've had a template produced for those MPs. It's not going to be discussed in Parliament. It hasn't been discussed, yet we've got all these people suffering medical conditions in areas such as Gateshead. So we've just had a speaker, Michael Shrimpton, talking about he reckons Brexit's going to happen. I have to, with respect, disagree with him totally. But at the end of the day, isn't our health more important, our family's health more important than anything? It's more important than having that trade. Whether we're alive or dead, surely that is fundamental, isn't it? So surely 5G takes precedence. It's all about a globalist agenda. So why will Jacob Rees-Mogg, why will Nigel Farage and the rest not talk about the globalist agenda, but they're scurrying around doing a deal here, a deal there, setting up a new political party with presumably Nigel Farage at the figurehead when he left the scene of the battlefield 2.5 years ago. If people don't wake up to that plain fact that he left for a reason, and it wasn't the reason that perhaps we like to think he left the battlefield for, why are these people not coming in full guns blazing and talking about the globalist agenda? Do they seriously think that they're not going to be impacted?
They're the first. They must certainly the first to be affected by this. This 5G, we from the data that we've carried out in Gateshead, I know this sounds absolutely appalling, we've had near 400 people that we can attribute in deaths in the Gateshead area. David Smails was part of my civil case.
Who's David Smails?
David Smails was a neighbour whose wife developed a very strange brain cancer. She died very quickly. The medical community believed it to be a stroke. It wasn't until they carried out the post-mortem they found that it was in fact a brain cancer, a very particular brain cancer that can be attributed to radar. What actually happened, I'd already spoke to a number of people, got a number of people around here, kiddies as well, who are developing heart cancers and brain cancers from this experimental radar system. And I'd already told a number of people, obviously, if anybody dies or there's anything strange to let me know. And obviously, David, I knew him, he gets around a little bit, he goes to the park, walks his dogs. I bumped into him in the park, and he mentioned about his wife and this very strange cancer. So what I did, I went down, we did an on-site test, tested the radiation in his bedroom. Now it was about 700-800 millivolts, and that is totally in breach of the building codes, absolutely in breach of the recent Europem 216 guidelines. and most certainly a disregard for the International Criminal Codes. That's the Council of Europe 1815 resolution, where they said 200 millivolts is about the maximum. The Bioinitiative report says 30, but they're the real scientists. So the courts have said 200, and we've got a chap near 800 in his home. 600 has been the minimum we've measured in Gateshead, and I've measured up to nearly 3,500 in a bedroom, where a taxi driver contacted me to go and measure and do an on-site test in his home due to the fact that his LED TV was flickering at night.
But isn't Mark? But isn't the problem? You know, I'm fully supportive of the 5G. Your role in the 5G, and I've done my best to spread the message and spread the word. I have other groups of people who've also got issues with courts and MPs. We all should surely come together on a ticket of justice, because we have a wide, there's a disparity, isn't there, between the people who rule us, it's a tyranny that we are living under now, and surely our role now is to exploit and explain why we're living under a tyrannous regime. Because you've got a situation there which is going to impact everyone in this room. We have other groups who've had miscarriages of justice. Justice is the key word. And perhaps this takes it back to the Magna Carta, doesn't it?
Well, not just the Magna Carta, Caroline. I mean, you know, these characters have broken acts of Parliament, European directives. I mean, they've.
But these are statutory acts, aren't they? These are acts that have been devised by Parliament, such as the 1939 Cancer Act.
Yes.
Which go totally against our fundamental human rights, our sovereignty. Basically, Parliament has been attacking us for decades.
And I would, Caroline, one of the fundamental things, and this is why I bring up the Parliamentary Acts, the fact that they're breaking their Acts of Parliament, that tells you all you need to know. That's how bad this thing is. We have a record and rule in QC stating in a court of law that the local authority have to discuss and debate the 5G issue, and then we get letters from the executive to constituents who've had phones put down on them. This guy's a victim. He was attacked at his own home. He was dragged out into his garden by associates of the council, and they attacked him. He's actually got witnesses to that attack. The police won't act because Northumbria Police are your business registered at Gateshead Council.
Well, it's not Finchley Road then.
It's unbelievable.
I don't know for anybody here, has anybody uncovered Finchley Road and the shell companies in Finchley Road? So we have MPs, politicians, businessmen who set up fake companies registered out of 788790 Finchley Road. And some of them, those people, you know, you see them on TV. So I can't. We're gonna open it up to questions in a minute, Mark. But what to me, I come from a financial background, and one thing that Mark told me that I thought was really, really important from my perspective, as evidential, concrete evidence, was the fact that Lloyd's of London will not cover any impact on your health from 5G. That says it all. Honestly, Mark, for anybody in the financial world, if you're going to do targeted marketing, to me, Lloyd's of London not covering something when they do tend to cover uninsurable risks on the whole of the insurance marketplace, that they won't cover this tends to suggest this is guaranteed to affect your health. And that's why they're not going to pay out. Would you say that was right,
Caroline,
Mark?
Yeah, Caroline, there's no insurance. The insurance companies and Lloyd's of London, and obviously they're the last stop for insurance. They will not insure any transmitter, because obviously as time went on, from 2010 on over, we started to see an emerging amount of data that showed that microwave radiation at non-thermal levels, so where it's not cooking you, I call it the cooking value. This is the safety value at the moment. It's not a safety value, it's a guideline. The international criminals at the Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection Authority, that's what they are, criminals. And the reason I call them criminals, and I've got no problem with that at all, they're not scientists, because a scientist's main function has to be able to take into consideration all of the relevant data in a particular subject. They specifically disregard any non-thermal science to show harm. There are tens of thousands of papers and emergent papers every single week coming out showing that this microwave radiation in air is extremely hazardous, and why wouldn't it be? You use it in a cooker, for God's sake, to actually cook food. I mean,
would you stick would you stick your head in a microwave oven? Why don't you try that? Would you do this? If you're prepared to do that, then 5G is okay. There is not one politician out there, a leader of a political party, or Leave Means Leave, for example, which is now puffing itself up and trying to take on the government. They won't talk about 5G. Anyway, I'm going to open it up to the floor now. Any questions? Excuse me. Yes?
I'm interested to hear a few words said about the satellite input of 5G.
Satellite input and 5G.
absolutely
Can you give a
horrendous.
few words, please, Mark?
Speak up, and maybe it'll be caught on tape, but if you can repeat. Do you want a glass of water?
Yes,
sweeties?
please. Satellite did you say satellite impact
Satellite input.
on 5G?
Yes.
Satellite input on 5G, Mark. What can you say about that?
The 5G system and 6G and all the rest
And
of it,
6G.
etc.
Well, so to say, unfortunately, I hear lots of these plans. Believe you me, the 5G rollout that we have, central government are rolling out 400,000 what's called MIMO tanks. These are the long, elongated new towers that you see popping up all over. They are enough to annihilate all of life, all biological life. I've measured it a couple of 100 meters from those towers, and we're hitting numbers, 15,000 millivolts. Like I said before, 200 is the maximum for, let's say, a medium-term dosage. So we've got 15,000 at a couple of 100 meters. These are on high streets, they're in towns, they're in villages. They are absolutely all over. So that in itself, including the transmitters on top of the LED street lighting and the LED street lighting, because we need to come back to that, LED street lighting and pulse modulated light, optical radiation is lethal. The recent study in Barcelona from Exeter University shows a doubling of breast and prostate cancer. They're not looking at other cancers, so we're just talking about two particular cancers here have actually been doubled in less than 3 years of exposure to that type of optical radiation. So this is most certainly untested, what I call killer technology. The satellites, I hear what you're saying, there's a plan to put satellites up, will just add more power density to the kill grid, that's all it will do. There will be nobody, we need to clear this up, there'll be nobody profit from 5G because there'll be nobody to spend any money on it. Telecoms companies will go bankrupt. The largest energy company has just filed for bankruptcy in California. It belongs to the Rothschilds, and the reason for that company's implicating the smart meter rollout. Now, smart, secret militarized armaments and residential technology, that's what SMART stands for. And smart devices, the more smart devices you have in any location, multiple occupancies, etc., what you're actually doing in basic physics, you're pouring microwave radiation energy into the fabric of the building. You'll break the building down, you can see hydrocarbon-based materials gassing off, and when you then have a fire, a bit like Grenfell Tower burst into flames, firemen had never seen anything like it in their life. That was a 3G, 4G fire, because obviously the building was already primed. the material on the outside of the building was already primed. I've already spoken to, I did a letter to the Grenfell Tower inquiry. There's been no mention of the breakdown of the cladding. So the cladding wasn't very good, we know that. It wasn't the best. But if you pour microwave radiation into a hydrocarbon, basically a plastic material, and then all of a sudden you want to set fire to it, believe us, that cladding would really get a good hold. But also would the flats. I'm not surprised that the firemen only fought, I can't remember what the number was it 70 or something like that, Caroline, who they found the bodies of?
Well, 72, but basically what happened was the government got the people working on the site to sign an official Secrets Act so that any more bodies could not be disclosed.
But no, I'm not surprised you wouldn't find any bodies, because if you pour a body full of microwave radiation, then you set it on fire, you can actually powder the bones. In fact, I think in California, with the smart fires that they've had in California, they're not finding the number of bodies because there's nothing there to find. It's, it's just ash. And that's what would happen if you prime a body, the bones and the teeth with microwave radiation, then you set them on fire. You've already broken down the body, and you break the body down with it's not just the energy that you're pouring in. You've got crossed wave frequencies, so you start to see resonant frequencies, and resonant frequencies, believe it, they can smash down concrete. And that's one of the reasons why you also see materials, metals bending and cars bursting into flames, and these anomalies where you've got specific buildings that have exploded, and then you've got a building actually sitting right in the middle of the fire and it hasn't been touched. The reason for that is because the other buildings have been charged up. And I have seen dual weapons, so that's the direct energy weapons on the internet. So I have seen that, but I'm going to tell you now, that's a smoke screen. Most dual weapons operate in the non-visible spectrum. You can't see them. So for me to actually see a helicopter firing a dual weapon at a building in California, and it was a dual weapon, it looked a genuine piece of footage to me, in a part of the spectrum that you can actually visibly see, that tells me that's just a deflector. It did happen, but that's to tell the general public that the real weapon system is smart. Smart is 5G, IoT is 5G. So the whole smart agenda, what they don't want people to realise, all these smart devices that you bring into your home, whether it be sitting on the top of your heating, whether it be sitting in your smart meter, your smart TV,
well, the smart meters, you mentioned California, and it's undoubtedly the houses that had the smart meters in were targeted. Those were the houses that tended to have disintegrated in total. Exactly. I know we've got a few more speakers. So have we got one final question for Mark? Right, we've got two hands up. Now I'm going to ask Mike, because he is, but Mark, you're going to ask a really intelligent question on 5G, aren't you, Mike?
So I'm a physicist, I'm quite clear.
It's physicist, yes, a physicist here.
How would you like to change it all?
How would you like to change it all? Because Mike has got the orgone bubble, and he wants every household to have an orgone bubble. To eliminate these phased arrays.
Well, actually, you can take the energy from 5G and Wi-Fi and all that.
So it basically backfires on 5G. You take the energy from 5G
convert it to healing.
And convert it into healing. Have you come across this before?
No, he hasn't, but he will.
But I think we need to, to save any blushes, I think I'm going to put you in touch with Mike. I know Miles has interviewed Mike on a few occasions, and they've been making an orgone bubble. Mike assures me it works. I can't say. I have no idea.
Well, actually, some of the discussions I've had with Mark, he has referred to some kind of Riffian technology being used in the background here.
Is that right?
There are technologies. I try and stay away from this, and I'll tell you the rationale. trying to protect yourself in your own home is problematic, because what they're going to do, they're just going to march a couple of guys up to your street with a couple of sidearms, kick your door in and shoot you. If they want to kill you with that 5G, believe us, they're not going to stop at you sticking some piece of equipment in your home. These people are psychopaths, they are monsters. The people that are behind this, who planned it, believe us, putting something in your home to protect yourself. And what I'm going to tell people, you can protect yourself from background radiation. There's lots of ways to do that, and you can misdirect and move signals. So there are ways to protect yourself. I don't even go there, because I'm going to tell you now, this is fight back time. Thinking that you can protect yourself in your own home, what you're really doing is you're imprisoning yourself. So you've just given in. You've given in, you've imprisoned yourself in your own home. Well, that's what they might want. And not only that, and then they pop somebody up when, let's say you've got yourself a couple of $100,000 as a pension, and they don't want you to have that, and just get a knock on the door and somebody stick a 9 mil in your face. So it's, this protection thing, I do get it. I understand some people are sensitive, and it does relieve some of the anxiety, and whether it's placebo or whether it works, because you have to be really careful as well. I know some people that were earthing their beds, big mistake, especially if the earth's live. And what we're seeing with 5G is that the whole system is live. So consequently, what they're doing, they're pouring more energy into their earth bed, because the energy's being picked up in the earthing cables. And if you look around where they're rolling 5G out, they're covering up the power lines. So they're actually encasing them, they're casing them in, and it's to stop this leakage. So, I get where people are coming from trying to protect themselves, but I'm telling you now, it's time for the resistance, it's time for the fight back. We haven't got time to get people to think that we're going to try and protect ourselves. We are at war. We're
Absolutely.
At war. We just don't know it. And not only are we at war, it's not just our government. There are a very small number of people who know what this is. This is Chinese hardware. This is a Chinese weapon system. It operates, its main operating platform is Zigbee. Zigbee's already compromised. So when the neighbour who knows how to run his way around a computer screen and knows how to work that bit of software, doesn't like you putting a new hedge up or a new fence up, believe us, he can see in your bed and he can kill you. So, I do get the point, but believe us, this is more important that we get it stopped.
Absolutely, Mark. And, how can you take an orgone bubble machine with you when you go shopping, when you're just out and about, going for walks, the white horse? It's just not humanly possible. And we get back to the stage of us being locked down in our own homes. We won't be able to produce that GDP that we supposedly, aspire to. We talk about economies, don't we? How we're the number 6 economy of the world. Well, we certainly won't be if we have the rollout of 5G, and obviously that will have an impact on GDP. 5G, so there won't be any jobs. We won't be able to go to work.
5G is economic terrorism. It'll kill everything. It'll kill all pollinators. They're rolling 400,000 these Memo tanks in the countryside as we speak. They will sterilise livestock. They will kill pollinators. They will kill the ground. They will destroy. I've just done a video there today of trees where the bark's starting to break off and burst off, and it's where when they get wet, they act as an earthen column. And obviously, we have all the trees die. You've got very little oxygen in cities, without those trees. So this is an existential threat to the economy, to the environment, to humanity. It's fight back time. Like I said, I haven't got time for people to think, well, we can run for the hills. There's no hills going to be left for you to run at. The lady said before about satellites. They put those satellites up, nowhere to hide. And like I said, if they want to kill all of us, it's quite a lot of us to kill. But if they want to kill all of us, why not just walk up the street? I mean, if we're going to allow them to bring this weapon, this Chinese weapon system, and stick it outside our bedroom windows, send somebody up the street with a couple of 9 mils, believe us, it's not beyond their comprehension, is it?
Mark, thank you so much for appearing on Skype via Gateshead. Have a good Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.
See you, everybody.
Happy. I think people should know that every single motherboard made in the defense industry is made in China. Every single motherboard made everywhere is made in China. So if I was the Chinese, I'd embed something in there so that we'd have a back door in. But anyway, everybody, another round of applause for Mr. Mark Steele. And our host for this part of the thing, Dame Premier Empress Caroline. Cheerio. Okay, we're just getting a John Kick.